You're asleep when the sound finds you. Your phone lights up. One line of text. Emergency alert. Nuclear incident detected. Seek shelter immediately. For a moment, you doubt. Tests happen. Mistakes are made. You tell yourself it can't be real. But the room feels different. The air seems thinner. Outside, you can hear people moving. The shuffle of shoes on pavement. A distant shout. The metallic clack of doors slamming. Time narrows. Your options shrink to the length of a single heartbeat. You do not have hours. You may not even have minutes. The first thing you must do is stop the noise in your head. Panic is the enemy's quiet accomplice. Breathe once, then again. Name the immediate facts out loud. Siren, alert, unknown origin. That small act of vocal clarity slows the body and clears the mind. You do not wait for confirmation. You do not search social media. You act. Next, decide where to go in seconds. If you are indoors, move inward. Basement, interior room, a space with as few external walls and windows as possible. If you are outside and the nearest shelter is unreachable, find the densest cover you can. A concrete structure, the lowest ground available, some place that minimizes open sky. Position matters. Distance from the blast and the amount of shielding between you and the outside are measured in survival. Third, protect your airway. If you have a cloth or mask, place it over your nose and mouth. Seal door gaps with towels or duct tape. Radiation's invisible threat is carried on dust and ash. Respiration is the most immediate vector. You do not attempt heroics. You buy time. Fourth, grab the essentials within reach. A charged phone, a flashlight, keys, any medication you require, and water. Leave everything else. Every second spent gathering non-essential items is a second lost from survival. Finally, communicate once, a single message, to one contact that states where you are and that you are moving to shelter. Do not flood networks. If you can, tune a battery radio or an emergency broadcast channel. Accurate instructions will arrive through official lines. Everything else is noise. Right now, the choice you make determines the first line of your story. Move precisely, move fast, move together. These are the 5 truths that will shape the rest of the day. Part 2. When the world goes silent. You make it inside. Sirens are still echoing, but muffled now, like the sound of the ocean through a wall. Your heart is hammering so hard that you can feel it in your palms. You've never moved this fast without knowing where you're going. Only that standing still wasn't an option. The room you've chosen is small. Maybe a storage room, a basement corner, a hallway with no windows. You shut the door. The lock clicks. For a second, there's silence. Then reality settles in. The noise outside hasn't stopped. It's only changed. Car engines, dogs barking, someone crying in the next building. The world hasn't ended. Not yet. But you can feel it beginning to shift. You look at your phone again. The signal bars are gone. No network, no internet. The screen is a lifeless glow. Power grids can fail within minutes of a high-altitude detonation or cyber attack. If communications are down, it's not just your phone. It could be entire regions. From this moment on, you're operating blind. So you think. You recall what you know. Fallout takes time to reach you unless you're near the blast zone. Minutes for wind to carry dust, hours for radiation to settle. Every second indoors matters. The air outside may already be poisoned, but inside, you still have control. You pull what you can into your shelter. Water bottles, food, clothing, blankets, flashlight. You seal vents with towels, stuff gaps under doors. Airflow is slower now, but safer. The instinct to peek outside is strong, almost unbearable. You want to see something, know something. But curiosity is lethal in these moments. Then something strange happens. The silence deepens. No sirens now, no neighbors, no cars. It's the kind of quiet that presses on the skin. You realize you can hear your own breathing again. Steady, rhythmic, alive. You don't know what's happening beyond these walls. You don't know which city was hit, or if yours is next. But right now, ignorance isn't failure. It's protection. Information can wait. Air cannot. Shelter cannot. The first 10 minutes are not about knowing what happened. They're about making sure you'll be here when the world decides to explain it. Outside, somewhere in the distance, another siren starts. Shorter this time. Sharper. You count the seconds between each pulse and tell yourself the truth. No one ever wants to admit. The world hasn't ended yet. But it has begun to. Part 3. The first hour. Stay or move. You've survived the first 10 minutes. You're breathing. You're inside. The sirens have faded, but the world hasn't returned. You check your phone again. Still no signal. The clock on the screen says 7:42 a.m. It feels like it should be midnight. You replay the sound of that siren in your head. Was it one long tone or two? Did it mean incoming or fallout? You can't be sure. You wish you had learned what those tones meant before today. But wishing doesn't help you now. The first hour after an alert is the hardest because it demands the most dangerous decision. Do you stay or do you move? Your instincts will fight each other. One side tells you to run, to get away from whatever's coming, to escape while there's still time. The other says to stay, to hold your ground, to hide and wait for safety to return. Both feel right. Both can be fatal, depending on where you are. So you start with logic. If you saw a flash, a bright light, or felt a pressure wave before the siren, staying is your only option. Fallout begins to descend within minutes of a detonation. Going outside then means walking into invisible fire. But if you're far from the impact zone, no flash, no blast, the siren could mean an incoming threat. In that case, your best chance is to shelter deeper, not flee farther. Roads will already be jammed. Gas stations will be empty. Panic always moves faster than vehicles. You open a window slightly and listen. The air is quiet, but not dead. You hear distant traffic, maybe sirens in another district, maybe nothing at all. You imagine how the world looks right now. People in every building doing what you're doing, staring at walls, trying to calculate survival in silence. You decide to stay put for now. It's the right call, because information in crisis arrives slower than danger. You sit down on the floor. You take a slow sip of water. You force your hands to stop shaking. For the first time, you understand that survival isn't about strength or speed. It's about composure, the ability to act when the body wants to freeze. Somewhere far away, jets roar overhead. They're too high to see, too fast to count. You realize this is what history sounds like when you're inside it. Distant, relentless, and completely out of your control. And still, you wait. Part 4. Securing your shelter. An hour has passed. It feels longer. Time moves differently when you're waiting for something you can't see. The first rush of panic has faded, replaced by a strange, heavy calm. The body begins to understand what the mind still resists. This might not end quickly. You look around the room that's become your shelter. A few bottles of water, some food, your phone, still silent. The small, ordinary things that never seemed important now feel like lifelines. You start to see them differently. Not as possessions, but as time. The first rule of surviving the next hour is simple. Secure what you have. You count your water supply. One bottle equals roughly 4 hours of hydration, if rationed properly. You mark the caps with a marker or a piece of tape, 1 line per person per drink. It sounds excessive, maybe paranoid, but discipline keeps panic from returning. Next, you check airflow. The instinct to seal every crack and crevice is strong, but you need oxygen. Tighten what you can. Windows, doors, vents, but leave a small, high opening to allow air to circulate. Radiation moves on particles and dust. Still air protects you more than sealed air. You move heavier objects, now a mattress, a bookshelf, toward outer walls to create additional shielding. Every centimeter of material between you and the outside world matters. Concrete is best. Wood is better than nothing. Even earth, bags of soil, books, clothing, all of it becomes armor now. If power is still on, use it wisely. Charge everything. Your phone, a flashlight, a power bank. Then unplug. Power surges are common after grid disruption, and fires can start from circuits that were never built for chaos. The house feels quiet. Too quiet. You wonder how many people are still nearby, doing the same things in silence. You picture families in basements, old men staring out windows, children being told it's just a drill. You realize survival isn't just physical. It's mental. Isolation is a threat too. You make a note in your head. Stay busy. Stay structured. Routine is control, even in the smallest ways, counting supplies, adjusting furniture, repeating tasks. The mind obeys structure when the world stops following rules. You've done what you can. For now, your space is safer than it was an hour ago. Outside, the world continues its slow descent into uncertainty. Inside, you created the first fragile layer of order in a collapsing system. The next step, finding real information, will be harder. Part 5. Finding information without losing your mind. Hours pass in fragments, moments of stillness broken by small sounds that make your chest tighten. A car door, a muffled voice, a faraway thud that could be thunder or something else. You've stopped trying to tell the difference. You just listen, and you wait. Your phone flickers to life, 1 bar of service, then 2. Messages start coming through in bursts, half-loaded, broken. A friend says there's been an attack somewhere in Europe. Another claims it's fake. A stranger posts a shaky video of a rising cloud over a city that looks nothing like yours. The timeline is chaos. Information, at this moment, is poison, disguised as clarity. The human instinct is to seek certainty, to scroll, refresh, verify, argue. But in war, the first casualty is always truth. Disinformation spreads faster than fallout. So you do what most people never think to do. You disconnect. You take a pen and paper and begin to write down only the facts you can confirm with your senses. Siren, alert, signal loss, silence, faint noises outside, now partial connection. That's your reality. Everything else is speculation. You turn on the radio, static at first, then a voice, distorted but calm. It's the national emergency broadcast. The message repeats every 10 minutes. Stay indoors, do not travel, conserve water, wait for updates. It's not much, but it's something. It means structure still exists somewhere. You make a simple rule. You will only check the radio every hour. You won't chase new information in between. This is how you protect your mind. Panic thrives on noise. Composure grows in silence. You think of how fragile modern life is, how dependent everything is on invisible systems you can't see or touch. Power, networks, satellites, all of them woven together like glass threads, shattering at the first real impact. And now those threads are snapping one by one. But you are still here, still thinking, still in control of one small corner of chaos. And that is the difference between surviving a disaster and being consumed by it. Outside, the wind picks up. You can smell metal in the air. You wonder if that's the storm or something else. You don't want to know. You turn the radio off. You breathe once, and you wait for the next hour to arrive. The 12th hour. Fear, fire, and human nature. By now, daylight has changed. It isn't warm or bright. The color of the sky is pale, like light filtered through ash. You look at your hands, at the faint tremor that never quite stopped. Hunger starts to set in, a dull, steady ache, but you ration carefully. You drink water, just enough to keep your mouth from drying out. Been half a day since the first siren. The world beyond your walls feels distant, unreachable. But war is never as far away as it seems. Then you hear it, shouting, footsteps, the creak of a gate. You move toward the door and listen. People. Maybe neighbors, maybe strangers. Someone knocks once, twice, hard. You freeze. Every instinct tells you to open it, to connect, to not be alone. But the other voice, and the one that's been keeping you alive, says wait. Desperation makes people unpredictable. Supplies run low. Rumors spread that certain houses have food, water, power. And in those rumors, survival turns into suspicion. It's not cruelty, it's instinct. Everyone is frightened. Everyone is trying to protect someone. You stay quiet. The knocking stops. You hear footsteps receding. Relief, guilt, fear, they mix until you can't tell them apart. You never imagined you'd have to ignore another human being to stay safe. But in the aftermath of collapse, safety changes shape. You check the window. The streets look different now. Abandoned cars, litter carried by the wind, a silence that isn't peaceful. Somewhere, a fire burns unattended, orange against the gray. The smell is thick and oily. You close the curtain, you sit down and write again. Time. 6:17 p.m. Status. Shelter intact, radio stable, no contact. You read it twice just to remember that you're not a passenger in this story. You are the narrator. When darkness comes, it arrives without transition. No streetlights, no noise. Just blackness and your own breathing. You realize how long a night can feel when there's no tomorrow guaranteed at the end of it. You lie awake, counting the seconds, between distant rumbles. It isn't sleep. It's endurance. Part 7. The 24th hour. The morning after. When you finally open your eyes, the light is dim and cold. The air smells faintly of dust and something metallic. You've made it through the night, a full day since the siren. You sit up slowly, stretching your stiff arms. Your first thought is not relief, it's disbelief. The mind struggles to accept survival when it spent the whole night expecting an ending. You listen. Outside, the birds are gone. The world feels emptied out, like sound itself has been rationed. You check the radio again. The same voice repeats, but this time there's an addition. Fallout levels decreasing. Remain sheltered for the next 48 hours. Aid stations will be established once clearance is confirmed. It's the first hint of order in 24 hours. You realize that the people behind that voice, faceless operators in bunkers, have been awake all night too, doing exactly what you've been doing, holding the line inch by inch, waiting for something resembling stability. You take another slow sip of water. You count what remains, enough for another 2 days if you ration properly. You write another note. Day 1 complete. Shelter stable. Still alive. Then for the first time, you allow yourself to imagine what comes next. How you'll leave. Who you'll look for. What the world will look like when you finally open that door. The hardest truth of survival isn't the waiting or the fear. It's realizing that when you step outside, everything that used to be normal is gone. The routines, The noise, the traffic, the certainty, all of it erased in 24 hours. But there's also something else, something smaller and quieter. The realization that you adapted. You didn't freeze. You acted. You thought. You survived. If World War III began tomorrow, there's no promise of safety. But there is a path, one built on 5 truths: awareness, shelter, discipline, information, and restraint. You can't control what nations do, but you can control the square meter you stand on and the seconds you own. The siren is only the beginning. The real story is how you respond when it stops.